neurodevelopment disorder, and you spoke it very well in Uganda. Now we quickly want to know who is at the risk of getting this neurodevelopment disorder. If we leave the risk factors, who is at a risk, then we can talk about the signs and symptoms. Maybe there could be children who are born and maybe we are not able to diagnose this condition. But as they grow up, a parent may notice different maybe signs and symptoms that they could learn from your expertise.
Okay, thank you so much. Who is at risk? That is the question I will begin with. Unfortunately, clinical research has not conclusively come up with identifiable causative factors of this condition. It is not easy to tell who is at risk of developing a certain condition of which you don't know the cause.
Okay.
So, at the end of the day, the little we currently know about the causes of autism, it is a neurodevelopmental condition that is believed to be influenced by two factors. One, the genetic factors.
So it is also familial?
Yes. At the end of the day, if you dig deeper, you will realize that genetics, these are hereditary elements that define how a body functions and responds to health conditions. Now, those hereditary elements that are transferable within a family lineage, you realize that at some point anything can happen in that genetic arrangement of a certain person. So if whatever has happened to the genetic arrangement of that particular person affects the brain components, the brain function, it is going to be transferable to the children. As much as the parent may not manifest with this condition, it is a risk to the incoming child.
Okay.
So the child may suffer from the condition called autism because of what happened to the genetic components of the parent.
Okay.
So that is how it is transferable within a family lineage. The other factor that is known to be causing autism are the environmental factors. Now, environmental factors, these are external happenings that influence life. They are outside the body, but they influence how we live our lives. For example, some of the commonest incidences that are linked to manifestation of autism in children are the circumstances that happen during delivery. Sometimes, some of our mothers, as they are delivering, they tend to take long. That is usually referred to as delayed labor. And once they delay in labor, the child gets tired. So as the baby being born gets tired, it means the child will not have the energy to cry at birth, pump the lungs, and then start breathing on their own. So that incidence usually deprives of the brain oxygen. We all know it's oxygen that facilitates communication in the brain. So if the child takes longer without crying to pump the lungs and then receive saturation of oxygen to the brain, that period of time, the more it prolongs, it definitely affects the brain. So even other circumstances that happen, you can talk of maybe severe premature birth. When a child is born, a baby is born very young, way before the expected date of delivery. You can talk of the severe low birth weight. A child is born below 2 kilograms or something like that. And a few other accidents that can happen, other anomalies that happen during childbirth. Now, some of those conditions, factors, usually are usually brought together and they are linked to the condition. But at the end of the day, as I said in the beginning, you will not tell that this kind of person is at a risk of having a child with autism because clinical research has not come up with conclusively evidential information that this is the cause of autism. Therefore, our dear viewers,
Every person,
is at risk of bearing a child with autism. It is just better that we equip ourselves with information about this condition for the better.
Wow, thank you so much, Mr. Rogers. And just like we want to ensure that you get quality information, he has talked about two major risk factors, one being hereditary and the second one being environmental. And he has fully explained what takes place in the environmental sector and in the hereditary environment. Now I have mixed the two. But he has fully explained these very important points and how you're at a risk of getting autism, and he has emphasized that every person, wherever they are, rich or poor, short or tall, whether in the village or in Kampala, you're at risk of getting autism. So it does not fully segregate. For this, we're going for a short quick break, but when we return we shall discuss more of the signs and symptoms, the treatment strategies that are available in Uganda, and of course where we can get this treatment, and the dilemmas, the common beliefs and misconceptions the caretakers, the mothers go through to raise such children with long-term condition of autism. See you shortly after the break.
Good Day TV, transforming your life.
In the neighborhood, near stagnant water and mosquito breeding sites, malaria lurks, always waiting to strike. But fear not, for here comes Mr. Vaxa, the ultimate protector against malaria. For years, malaria has been one of the biggest threats to children under 5, making them weak and even putting their lives at risk. But now, the government is introducing a new solution: the malaria vaccine. The malaria vaccine is now in the routine immunization schedule. The malaria vaccine is administered in 4 doses at 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, and 18 months. This vaccine will provide extra protection against severe malaria. And don't forget, routine immunization protects children from many deadly diseases. Every vaccine matters. Visit the nearest health facility for routine immunization services today. Mr. Vaxa, the malaria vaccine is free, safe, and ready to protect our children. Will you?
Tosubwa Good Day TV.
Abagalwa abalungi, erinnya lya Mukama waffe Yesu Kristo lyebazibwe nnyo. Mbalamusizaako. Amanya gange nze Kasozi Robert Cephas. Mbanjulira programu ennungi mwogenda okuyita okusisinkana Kristo, okwateko bisuubizo, osumululwe, owangule, eyitibwa You Can Be Delivered. Ngekutusibwako obuweereza obwa Raising David's Tabernacle Ministries wano ku Good Day TV. Buli lwa Sande okutandika essaawa 5 ez'ekiro, n'olwokusatu okutandika essaawa 3 ez'akawungeezi tugendanga kubeera wamu. Oludde mu bulwadde, olinayo ebintu byonna ebikutawaanya wadde nga walokoka, olinayo ebintu ebyo nga obisabidde naye nga bigaanyi, oba nsonga ya birooto, ng'ebirooto bikufuukidde ebirooto tobitegeera, ogezezzaako eno n'eno. Programu eno egenda kubeeramu essuubi, ekyokuddamu, okuwangula, okubotola mu maka, mirimu n'ebirala bingi. Kale nkusaba onneegatteko wano ku Good Day TV. Akaseera ako kagenda kuba kakusumululwa. Nkulinze, Mukama akutwere omukisa. Tosubwa programu eno.
Are you a resident of Wakiso, Nansana, Senge, Namusera, Kampala, and other neighboring areas looking for a school with a modern, comprehensive learning environment, qualified and caring teaching staff with a trustworthy support team? Look no farther. Tick Time Kindergarten and Tick Time Junior Schools Develop your child's learning capabilities to greater heights in a God-fearing setting. We nurture leadership, responsible citizenry, academic and co-curricular excellence like sport, swimming, and other activities. We offer pick and drop services for our learners in our clean fleet of shuttles. We also have both day and boarding options. Registration is in progress from kindergarten to P7. Contact us via phone or WhatsApp on 0784 448833 or 0743 448833. Find us at Naluvule Senge along Kayunga Kawanda Road. Take time, lead to excel, and excel to leads.
Good Day TV, transforming your life.
I want to welcome you from a short quick break. Just like I often advise you that every moment you go for a short quick break, I encourage you to take water, move around from your sitting room, and you all know that supper, typical supper, ends at 8 p.m. so that you can have more 3 hours of seeing, doing something, assisting your children, moving around your house, checking on your animals, and whatsoever before you sleep, so that the typical dinner or supper time. So every time you hear such information, just notice from a professional nutritionist. Now, we've been talking about autism, and I want to talk about the signs and symptoms. Mr. Regis, what are those signs and symptoms that you would want people to know that may present to a child and parents may not take for granted?
First of all, as we mentioned earlier, it is a neurodevelopmental condition, and it manifests during early childhood. Therefore, you can start seeing some of the signs of this condition while a child is still as young as 2 years.
Okay.
The matter of fact that this condition is usually represented by a delay, a significant delay in a child achieving these milestones, the very first milestones as they are growing up. Talk of sitting. Children with autism usually take way long to sit. You find a child reaching like 12 months before they start sitting.
Okay.
Up to almost 18 months they are unable to stand or walk. Usually that is the first indicator. The delay of the milestones, a significant delay of acquisition of milestones by these children. Then when you look at other things that come along after, first of all, the signs and symptoms that represent this condition are categorized into something like 3. To begin with, this child will face challenges with social interaction and communication. In social interaction and communication, you realize that a child will struggle to maintain eye contact. As you're speaking to the child will not be able to look at you straight into your eyes.
Okay.
Most cases, they tend to hide their eyes and people think they are shy. Others, in most cases, they struggle to develop speech. Those few that are able to develop speech, in most cases, their speech does not come out well. Some of them can be able to articulate their words very well, but they only repeat what you're saying. You ask the child, how are you? Instead of the preferred response of I am fine, the child will also say, how are you? Those who can be able to speak. Others have challenges with speech, like let me say articulation errors. They speak words wrongly and all that. So those are some of the challenges with social interaction and communication. Specifically with social interaction, this child will not be able to play with others. If they are able to play, their play is not meaningful. You look at a specific item of play, let me say a toy, instead of playing with a toy the right way of maybe it's a toy car, this child will only get the car and then start flipping it or just throw it away and all that. That is it. So those are some of the challenges they face and manifest with in social interaction and communication. They also face other challenges with repetitive patterns. Now, with repetitive patterns, children with autism usually tend to do things so much repetitively. For example, a child will always flap their hands when they are excited, or sometimes just casual as they are running around, they flap their hands. They tend to be so much up and down, they never settle.
They're hyperactive.
They are hyperactive, as you've mentioned, thank you. But they keep jumping in the couch, on the bed, everywhere. They do not concentrate on one activity or task to complete it. Before they complete this one, they're already pacing to another point to do something else. So sometimes they also tend to have obsessive tendencies towards either routines or items. A child may be so much obsessed by something that may not make a lot of meaning to you or any other person, but to them it makes meaning. Like maybe this bottle, a child may be so obsessed with this bottle and you can't take it away from him. I mean, they keep crying, they keep demanding for it, and that is what is characterizing their life at that time. Some of them are also challenged with their sensory processing abilities. How their body interacts with the outside environment. Like for example, some of them tend to block their ears, and you think they are so much irritated in terms of
the noise
of
the sound
very
outside.
natural environmental sounds that you think are quite normal.
It's tolerable.
But for them, they cannot tolerate it. They keep blocking their ears. Yet others tend to be so much defensive with anything that touches their skin and all that. We call it tactile defensiveness. They don't want to touch surfaces all the other way around. They keep demanding to touch particular surfaces. So there are also those children that tend to walk on their toes. For a normal person, you cannot walk 1, 2, 3, 10 steps on your toes.
No, it's not possible.
But for these children, a number of them, it is part of their life and they keep walking on their toes. Even if you try your best to have them go back to their flat feet, it's going to be so much challenging. Now, what we need to note is autism is a spectrum. Now, the word spectrum means a broad
it's an umbrella
range of symptoms to begin with and the severity levels. Therefore, you will realize, or you will find out, that very many children are diagnosed with the same condition, autism, and yet they are presenting with very different symptoms. Your child may present with challenges with speech and all that, and yet another child is going to present with challenges of sensory integration abilities, and yet they are all diagnosed with autism. So it is called autism spectrum disorder, and the word spectrum is derived from the fact that it has a wide range of symptoms and levels of severity.
Oh, and it represents other health conditions.
Exactly.
Perfect. Now, we want also to discuss a few misconceptions or beliefs that these parents present at your clinic throughout the 9 years of experience. What are some of those misconceptions that you would want to demystify to viewers of Good Data Vision?
Thank you so much, Daniel. It's good that you've asked this. We have always encountered situations where parents will present with a lot of misconceptions, and trust me, these have caused, they have escalated the issue from autism to so many other things, including breaking of marriages and all that. Now, at the end of the day, we have seen so many of our parents out there, first of all, linking autism to witchcraft. As a matter of fact, very many of our parents have ended up being stigmatized by people, for lack of a better word, who lack knowledge about this condition, telling them that they sacrificed their children for rituals to get rich, maybe wealth and all that. That's why their children are presenting the way they are presenting. And this is merely a medical condition. So, one of the biggest misconceptions out there is people thinking this is witchcraft, it is child sacrifice for these are rituals for wealth or riches and all that. That is the very first thing. And at that point, I would like to urge you out, our parents out there, autism is purely a medical condition. It is very possible for children to outgrow most of the challenges, the condition, the symptoms in this spectrum, if they get the rightful professional treatment of this condition. It is never a traditional or witchcraft condition. But there are other misconceptions also. Some people have always thought this is a Western condition, like abulwadde bw'abazungu, bw'abagagga. In most cases, people think children that have this condition are those children from those big bisakate and all that. But as I mentioned earlier, this is a condition that research has not come up with a conclusive causative factor. Therefore, everybody, rich or poor, like you mentioned, tall or short, is a potential victim of this.
It's a potential candidate.
We also have other misconceptions. You can talk of people thinking that children with this condition are literally mad, bagwe baddalu. For lack of a better word, that's what some people out there think. Others tend to think they are deaf, like tebawulira, simply because they are not communicating with you, they are not interacting in communication. Abamu kibanguyira okulowooza nti abaana bano bakiggala. And yet in most cases, the biggest percentage of children with autism, as much as they may be non-verbal, they are able to hear very well. Their auditory functioning is very intact and it has no problem. So those could be some of the misconceptions that we have encountered out there. But I would like to take this opportunity you've given me at Google Day TV to tell our viewers out there, dear parents, autism is purely a professional medical condition. Bulwadde bwa kikugu, era singa wezuula nti ofunye omwana alimu embeera bweti, ky'olina okukola kwe kunoonya abakugu ne bayamba omwana okuvuunuka embeera eno.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dr. Rogers. Now, we would want us to now come to the treatment modalities available. You said that these children are not affected by the social and communication skills. They're affected by other two that you talked about. Now, we would want us to talk about the treatment strategies. Do you give them the medicines to take orally, just like they give us Panadol that everyone knows? What are the treatment modalities that are offered to children with autism, and how long is the duration of the treatment? Well, the person has to come and stay with you. Because we've seen most mothers, they would want to deposit those children to those homes. They do not want actually to be with those children. Just like you talked about marriage break due to autism children and so much more. It is related to such environments.
Okay, first of all, if we have to talk about the treatment modalities, we need to reflect so much on the typicalities of this condition. First of all, we mentioned that it's a lifelong condition. So if you're to ask how long the treatment period goes, it may still go for as long as the child is still challenged by
as long
that
as the child is still alive.
Exactly, at the end of the day. But we need to understand that the good news is a child with autism has the potential to outgrow. Autism does not cure, but the child has the potential to outgrow the symptoms of that condition. Omwana alina obusobozi obuvuunuka ebizibu ebireetebwa embeera eno. Tekitegeeza nti embeera eno ebeera evuddewo. Wabula, the child only outgrows the challenges of those symptoms.
Okay.
That is what we should say. Now, the treatment modalities and approaches available are targeting two things mainly. One, independence. They focus on making this child with the condition live an independent life. They be able to take care of themselves. They be able to do everything on themselves. Two, The treatment modalities also focus on seeing that this child grows up into a productive, integral part of the community, just like any other person. Now, these are the treatment modalities that are available. First of all, we shall begin with the diagnostic approaches and criteria. This is a specialized condition that not everybody will be able to detect and ascertain that the child is manifesting with a condition. Usually, it is the pediatric neurologists, clinical psychologists, educational psychologists that will diagnose this condition. Therefore, when you sense, when you detect some of or observe some of these symptoms we've talked about, you look out for those specialists.
Okay.
After they have diagnosed the child, they will recommend you for the interventions, the treatment interventions, and those are the therapists now. So these therapists will include the speech and language therapists. For the speech and language therapists, for them, they are responsible for ensuring that the child improves their communication skills. Usually they work so much on communication, then feeding and swallowing. That is speech and language therapy. Then they are occupational therapists. I am an occupational therapist and I work with a pediatric range. So occupational therapists, our role is to focus so much on promoting the child's abilities of performing daily activities using occupations.
Wow.
That is why we are called occupational therapists.
Wow.
And if we are talking about occupations, these are purposefully arranged tasks that focus on helping this child become independent and do everything on their own. So not only speech therapists and occupational therapists, we can also talk about the special needs teachers that usually play a role of helping them, helping to address the individualized challenges of that child that they face during learning. We can talk about the behavioral therapists, psychologists, child psychologists and counselors. Those ones also play a very big role in helping this child to stabilize their emotions and all that. So those are basically some of the treatment approaches and modalities available for autism.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dr. Aloysius Mtawe. And of course now the congregation, all the viewers of Google Data Vision have learned a lot from autism. What do you think is your best conclusive remark about this topic? And I want you to call upon the government. I know you have a lot of challenges when you are dealing with these children. You can list at least only 2 major challenges. You call upon the government. What do you think the government needs to do? Since you're in a media house, the government needs to know what you need as an occupational therapist, management of autism, and you give us your conclusive remark about that topic.
Thank you so much, Daniel. First of all, to begin with, our parents out there are finding a very big challenge. The affordability of these services. It looks like these services are way too expensive and yet they are quite lifelong. So a parent sustaining through these services, it's not easy. And it is because these services are mostly available on private arrangements. Okay. Most of our government hospitals out there only have specialists like me on consultation basis. But after the consultation, they will always refer you back to our private centers and non-government organizations that have come up to offer these services. So that is why the services are too expensive, and therefore my cry to the government out there is, if you could interest yourselves, people in the policy making stream, if you could interest yourselves with this condition, not only autism, there are so many other conditions that relate to this situation that need your attention. Policy-wise, if autism and other conditions are streamlined in the government structures, and we have more of specialists like me enrolled, those cadres enrolled in the hospitals, so that parents out there can receive
Quality
these services at a more subsidized kind of
and timely.
Exactly. The other cry I have out to not only the government but other stakeholders out there, as we were starting, we agreed that there is scanty data about the prevalence and all that. I would like to ask organizations out there, the government, the Ministry of Health and all stakeholders, to interest yourselves in research. Epidemiological research, that is quantitative research, qualitative research about this condition, at least to make it easy to establish more clinical details about this condition. Maybe you never know, at least one day we shall be able to get curative kind of approaches about this condition that is currently not there.
Thank you so much, Mr. Regis. Now, there could be some viewers who have intense questions about their children's condition that have not been able actually to call in because of a time schedule. Now, I want you to read us your phone number to our viewers so that people can call you independently and interact with you, I don't know, at their own best time.
Okay. My phone number, personal phone number, is 0787 366 447. That is my personal line, and our office line at Golden Bamboo Special Children's Center is 0393 256 530. 0393 256 530. Golden Bamboo Special Children's Center.
Perfect. Now, I want you to give us your last conclusive remark about this very important topic of autism. Package your health information in a summary format so that we can conclude this very program.
Thank you so much. What I would say is autism is real. This condition is there, and each person out there is a liable victim of this condition. But the good news is any child with autism is in position at least to grow up independently and be a productive member of the society. So in case you get a child and is diagnosed with this condition, please just look out for professional assistance. Trust me, your child will grow up into a very meaningful person in this world. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Now, just like you've been having Dr. Regis and has given us his numbers, kindly reach out to him at your private arrangements, interact with him. If you have children or babies with this condition, or if you think that a child has this condition and maybe has not sought and you've not sought medical attention that's appropriate or complete, and he will be able to support you at his facility. And of course, we'll talk one-on-one at a special arrangement. Now, before we leave the program, do you have any special greetings to your people?
First of all, my special thanks will go to the management of Good Day TV and to you, my host of the day. I would also like to send my greetings to all parents of children with autism, especially parents of Golden Bamboo Special Children's Center. I thank you so much for your cooperation, facilitating our children, and your dedication to supporting these children. I know it's not easy, but to every parent with a child with this condition, I would like to tell you this: keep on keeping on. Don't lose it. This child will become meaningful one day. Thank you so much.
Perfect. I thought you'd greet your wife. Now, I want to thank you for watching Good Day Television. Good Day Television Health and Beauty program airs every single Wednesday at 9 p.m. And of course, we bring to you different health specialists. Do not miss the upcoming healthy programs. We shall talk about malaria. We shall talk about liver cancer. We shall talk about irritable bowel syndrome. These are the important health topics that run us throughout the month of April. So the next 3 Wednesdays, Justin is going to be a trailblazer here at Good Day Television. I intend to bring you expert panelists that always bring you the health information, but not only that, also experience that you need all the time. Because, for example, Dr. Regis has 9 years of experience in his specific field. So I intend to always keep you updated. And of course, we want to thank you for watching Good Television, our Christian programs that air 24/7, that bring you salvation in your household, in your sitting room, in your bedroom, and also encouraging you, just like we are hustling all the time, but you need to be encouraged by the Word of God. I am Kamara Daniel. I hope to see you next Wednesday. Take care. Bye-bye.
Good Day TV, transforming your life.
In 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 18 to 20. This church I commit to this son, Timothy, according to the prophecies which went before on thee, that thou by them might war a good warfare, holding faith and a good conscience, which some have put away concerning faith, have made shipwreck, of whom is Hymenaeus and Alexander, who I have delivered to Satan, that they may learn not to blaspheme. Paul was writing to his son Timothy, and he is giving him a church like a military church. He was a man that started on the journey